Honey, the credit fairy doesn't exist.
What?
It's make-believe. Nobody left anything under your pillow.
If there's no credit fairy, then we'll make our credit score go up.
We will. By doing things like paying our bills on time.
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.
What?
Pull your face mask down. All right. What about the chest guard? It looks loose. Is it loose? All right. What about the shin guards? All right. Okay. Here comes the heat. Bring it in. Bring it in. Good hustle.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Regina Reese. Today we have on the show two very important guests from the Takoma Foundation. Franca Brilliant, who is the president of the Takoma Foundation. She's been on the board since 2006 and has been living in Takoma Park since 1996. She is joined by her colleague today, Scott Ward, who is the vice president of the foundation. He's been on the board for 2 years now and has lived in the city since 2000. Scott, Franca, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. This is really fun.
Yeah, we're really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, guys, let's get started. What is the Takoma Foundation?
The Takoma Foundation is a community foundation, which means basically we are the foundation for Takoma Park. And what we do is we raise money here and it goes to address local needs. So it comes from the community to help the community.
And how did this all get started?
Well, we got started in 1989. There was a small group of people who really wanted to be able to marshal resources to direct them back at the community. And they took the foundation for the first several years till about the mid-90s when it actually went through a quiet period. And then about 1999 it came back again and it did a major fundraising push to support the community center. So we raised about $140,000 for the community center. And then the foundation has continued since then, really giving grants and supporting all kinds of initiatives all over the community.
And so the way that you guys relate the concept of the Takoma Foundation is kind of like a barn concept, is that correct?
What we like to say about the foundation is that we've only been around for not too many years, but the concept behind a community foundation really goes back as old as the country. You think about, say, barn building, right? You might be in a community where somebody's got some nails and somebody's got some wood and somebody's got some labor to add, and the whole community can come together to build a barn. And that's really what we're doing. We live in a community that has great wealth. Some of that wealth is financial. A lot of that wealth is just the energy and enthusiasm and concern and caring of our fellow citizens and our fellow residents. And so what we try and do is pool all of that wealth into a central source and then redistribute it back out into the community in the form of grants to different organizations. And those include things that everybody thinks are fun, like the 4th of July parade, the folk festival, other events in town. They also include things that a lot of people in the neighborhood don't necessarily see or they don't really necessarily notice. And so these might be groups to immigrant organizations that are trying to do things like provide job training or start a small business. And so that's really what we're all about, is taking community resources, pooling them together, and then getting back out into the community in the ways that they can do the most good.
And a big message from the foundation is building community and changing lives. Why did you guys select that to be your big message?
Well, as Scott said, we're really about bringing community resources together to address community needs. And the way I like to think of it, we connect, we catalyze, and we collaborate. So we connect people who are doing great things together, so that together their efforts become something larger. And we catalyze things by providing a little bit of funding to somebody who needs some extra resources to get something done. They've got a great idea, a great project, but they need a little extra to be able to put it into practice. And you know, for example, with some of the local businesses, that's, you know, with some of the little micro enterprises, we've been able to do that to really give them something to kickstart it. And then we collaborate. So we work with the Old Town Business Association, we work with a number of other organizations around town, Historic Tacoma, Friends of Sligo Creek, and we try to, again, it's about making our efforts collectively greater than the sum of their parts.
Well, what do you guys look for in a project when you decide to actually give a grant to somebody? What are some of the qualities that you look for in that project?
Well, again, we want projects that are connecting people to each other, connecting people to resources, connecting people to places as well. And so that is one of the essential pieces. The other thing is, obviously, we are the Takoma Foundation, so it really has to primarily benefit the residents of Takoma Park, but we can touch Tacoma, DC, Silver Spring.
Outside places, yeah.
Right, exactly. In the immediate neighborhood, where we definitely do stuff in those areas. We're looking for places where, again, that word catalyze, where our money really makes a difference. So we don't want to give, you know, our grants are $500 to $2,000, $2,500. We don't want to give money to $1 million organization because it won't make a big difference.
Right.
So those are the things, and they also, you know, we are small, so we want the projects to be contained, things that can happen within a year. There are some of those considerations as well.
And so how do you guys know exactly what happens, like where this money is being put to? Do you guys look for a result at the end, or how?
I think that's one of the really exciting things about the work that we do. Obviously, all the organizations we work with do need big funding, and they do need big strategic funding and strategic thinking. One of the fun things about what we do is that we do give this money to fund really discrete projects, really individualized projects. And so we can walk around town and see things like you walk around the neighborhood and you see all this great art, and some of that art hop stuff are things that we have funded over the years. You go over by Takoma Park Presbyterian Church, there's a bike rack. Bike rack gets used, and that's something that we funded. You go to Bell Ziegler Park and you see these wonderful wood carvings made out of trees that were dead and down, or actually not only an eyesore but something of a danger. And so you can see these. So we can see the results of our work around town, and then you can go to a farmer's market and you can see the impact that we're having in food education and nutrition. You can go to a small business like El Rosal, and you can see that they're up and running and they're producing, and we help that with a small seed grant. So the great thing about what we do is that we can actually see the results, which is not to say that big funds and strategic thinking is not important. It's critical, but our role is to make sure that we can help people get things done that they need to get done, and so we get to see the results.
And just building on that a little bit, Scott mentioned two examples that we really like because they're almost like multi-generational grants or ripple grants. So with the community food issues, one of the things that we've done is we have supported the community farmers market at the Langley Crossroads several times, and have helped them build connections. I mean, we've supported them building connections, they're already doing it, but so that they were connected to a food safety certification class with parents at Rolling Terrace, which was being offered by the local Y. So the Y was working with Rolling Terrace, which was then connecting with the community farmers market, the Crossroads Farmers Market.
Okay.
Another example of that is El Rosal, which we were talking about. This is a group of local women. They are all immigrants from Central America. They came together with us in a kind of a community circle sponsored by Impact Silver Spring, and they came up with the idea that they could start a business as a sewing cooperative. And so we came in with a seed grant early on when they were just getting started. We were able to help them get a place and buy some machines. And then they began offering classes to other women to try to spread this around. So we supported them offering classes in one of the schools around the community. And then they came back to us and they asked us if we would help them sort of go the next step in their development. And so we've been able to give them a number of grants. And over time, those grants have had a ripple effect. They're now teaching classes in, I think, 3 or 4 local schools. So they're teaching other people who will then teach other people. So yeah. It's really terrific. And I happen to have brought a little sample of some work they did for the holidays. This is one of the things that they made.
Beautiful.
They do alterations and they do, you know, they make bags, they make dresses. So really it's a wonderful thing and it's really, I think, an empowering thing. And that is one of the things that we really look for is our ability to empower others to do what they want to do, to resolve, you know, issues or create things that they have come up with themselves.
I also read in The Voice.
I'm sorry, I'd like to add to that because I think it's such an important point that Franca's making, and that we see ourselves as facilitators of energy and ideas that already exist. So the solutions, the people within the community understand the solutions that they need for their community. And so we don't see ourselves as a group of individuals who are trying to tell folks what to do. As Franca said, we're trying to empower people to execute the solutions that they know that they need for their organizations, and we help with like different parts of that. But that's really what it's about. It's ideas coming up from the community and then resources coming in from the community, and we're the place where that's kind of the mixing bowl where we're able to match those ideas with the resources to see those ideas happen.
Okay, okay. Yeah, well, I read in The Voice that basically these women, they got together to kind of create like a network. Is that correct? I guess because a lot of them felt shunned away from society, maybe because of the language barrier.
That is absolutely correct, and it is one of the wonderful things that our neighbor Impact Silver Spring does, which is that they bring together groups of neighbors and they look at it as asset building, so that no matter where you are in life, you have something to offer. And so these women came together in one of these neighborhood circles, and they came up with the idea. One of the women was a trained seamstress. She was a professional seamstress in Honduras, and they came up with the idea that they could do it. And so it's partly a community building thing, but it's also, you know, in the end, it's about economic development and about spreading that model of really local enterprise. And again, you know, we don't want to just echo each other, but really what Scott was saying is that there is huge creativity here, you know, and a real drive to answer local problems. And so we're just facilitating that.
And you guys are also promoting health.
And we are also promoting health.
Yeah, definitely.
We have done, you know, a number of projects with Adventist Community Services, and some of the food safety projects are really about public health issues. So, yeah.
And just going back onto what Scott had said about fundraising, where exactly are you guys funding or getting the funding from?
Well, 99% of the funds that that the foundation gets, I would say, come within about 3-mile radius of where we're sitting right here. The funds that we contribute back into the community come from the community. These are all donations by individuals, some small donations by individuals who give what they can, some large donations by exceptionally generous individuals. Business community comes out and supports us, and the whole community really comes together to support the Takoma Foundation financially. Sometimes through our fundraisers. We have a big fun event in the fall every year called the Beer Fest. We get people who come to that. That's a paid event, but it's a paid event where we have very few expenses, and so virtually all the money we bring in through that event goes back out into the community. Okay. Same thing with our board. We don't have any paid staff. Our expenses include a post office box here in town, and that's really it. That's the overhead for our organization. We have to pay things like postage and whatnot, and computer expenses for our internet site. By and large, we're an organization that's extremely lean, and we don't use money for hardly anything other than giving it back out as grants. So when people contribute to the foundation, that money goes right back into the community.
In the community. And you guys actually you guys fund a large range of projects. It's not just, you know, well, it's all local. It's all local. You guys have like immigrant groups, you know, that ask for funding, philanthropic groups that ask for funding, environmental and also artsy groups that ask for funding. I mean, where does it all come from? Because usually you would think maybe we'll focus on like a particular, like maybe just environmental, but you guys say that you want to focus just on everything, just about, you know, that could actually better the community.
Well, it's true. We do try to really go across the range of things that enrich our community in every possible way, and that is what a lot of community foundations do. It's the idea that we're really trying to support everything, you know. And obviously there are a lot of needs in the community and a lot of ideas that are looking for support. We have actually talked about whether we might at some point want to focus in on something specific. So for example, you know, if we were to work around food issues, there's the new community kitchen that is being developed through the Takoma Park Presbyterian Church. And so, you know, maybe we would do some funding around food issues. It's something that is, I think it has a lot of potential because it touches everybody at certain points in their lives. It's connected to workforce development. If you have food safety certification, that means that some of the people who are cooking in their kitchen could be cooking and selling at the market, you know. And then there's the kitchen, which becomes a community resource. So there are a lot of touch points there. So, you know, we go back and forth a little bit. We like the model of really supporting the wide range of activities, and I think Takoma Park likes that model too. But we definitely have considered possibly focusing down a little bit as well.
One of the great things about being in Takoma Park is that there's no shortage of ideas for solutions, for community solutions. This is very much an innovative and incubator community when it comes to bringing forth ideas to make the community better. So as long as those ideas are out there, it's hard for us to stop and say, you know, well, these are the only things we're going to fund, because we're all about funding solutions. There's a lot of people here in this community. It's one of the reasons it's a great place to live, who have different ideas. At the same time, we're a small, nimble organization responsive to the needs of the community. So as the needs of the community change, we're certainly able to adapt and change to those. We try and always be listening to what those needs are. Past few years, the economy's been really, really tough. And so every organization has needed some sort of help to get something done. And as we see that change, it may give us an opportunity to focus on certain issues, as Franca was saying. Maybe we'll focus on environmental issues. Maybe we'll focus on food issues. Maybe we'll focus on workforce development. But that's something that we're constantly doing. It's evaluating what the needs are, listening to what those needs are, and being responsive to that.
And I would just say that we are always in the intake mode, and so as Scott said, we really want to be responsive to the community, and so part of the reason we're talking to you is to encourage people to seek us out, to learn more about us, to tell us what their needs are and what their interests are in terms of our supporting Takoma Park.
Franca, how much funding have you guys actually given to the community?
Well, that's a really good question. We have given approximately $350,000 to $400,000 to the community, and it is a large amount, and I want to emphasize that that is all money coming from the community. As you said, it's the generosity of people like us and the people who are watching this show that have made that possible. And I just want to add that we are aiming at $500,000, and we're going to have a big celebration when it comes, so help us get there.
Yes, oh, definitely, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, definitely let us know, and we'll also keep you guys abreast to that as well when that does come up. Something else I wanted to touch on, you guys give out micro grants. What did you guys say was the challenges with micro grants in giving to these projects?
So the challenges with microgrants are some of the things we've already talked about. We know that we are relatively small, that these grants are relatively small, that we're dealing with people who have big ideas. As Scott said, there's a lot of strategic thinking around this town. And so we have to think about how we can best leverage the money that we can offer, and that's where that sort of catalytic role comes in. The other thing about microgrants is that and I am a fundraiser, and so I live on the other side of this as well, is that if you're getting a grant and it's for a specific project and you get it this year but you don't know if you're going to get it next year, then there's a lot of uncertainty around your planning. And so we have also thought about, and we'd love community feedback on whether we should be thinking about longer term grants. You know, is it possible for us to make a commitment over a 2 or 3 year period? And that gives an organization a chance to plan and grow in a whole different way.
There are certain challenges to giving small grants, but there's also just so many opportunities because every organization that we work with has small operating budgets, and so every grant we give really helps get something done that is really needed. So the challenges are there, and it would be great if we could give bigger grants over the longer term if that's what the community decides and if we have the resources to do so. But at the same time, it's really important to know that these grants, small grants, $500 to $2,000, $2,500, can make a really big impact for different organizations.
I said at one point to an organization that we work with, the Somali American Community Association, which has done some great work with Somali women workforce development, and we supported them. And I said to the chairman, you know, I wish we could do more. And he said, oh, don't underestimate how much the value of this grant is to us. And the El Rosal women said the same thing. So the little grants really do make a difference. But again, we want to be responsive to changing circumstances, and so we're flexible around all kinds of models, not just, you know, multi-year, but maybe bigger, more focused, some of the things that we've been talking about.
Okay, okay. And you guys are actually huge sponsors as well to different events in the community. The Azalea Awards, which we actually have featured here in the background. And what other, there's the Beer Fest, the Jazz Fest. You guys are also a participant in one of the street festivals that we have here in Takoma Park.
That's right. That's right. With the Old Town Business Association runs a wonderful street festival in the fall, and we always, you know, sponsor a booth at that. And we're also part of the Folk Festival. You may or may not have mentioned that, but we want to be part of that and celebrate that great musical tradition here in Takoma Park.
Sure.
The 4th of July parade. What am I missing?
We said the Jazz Fest. That's another thing. So I would say pretty much any time people are getting together in Takoma Park, we're hoping that we're contributing in some way, and whether it's in a small way, just by buying a booth, because that's an important, you know, it's an important revenue aspect for a different organization, or whether we're actually a cash sponsor for an event like the Jazz Fest or the Folk Festival, or whether it's our fundraiser, the Beer Fest in the fall, or whether it's the 4th of July parade, which is really, I think, the parade and the fireworks, I think, is really the day that our whole community gets together. There's really just nothing like going through the 4th of July parade, either watching it or being in it. It represents the diversity of our community. It represents the funky side of our community. It represents the immigrant side of our community. It represents all sorts of different aspects. And when you go to the middle school and you see the fireworks and you see all the different families and you see what a broad, diverse community we are, that's one of the things that I really love. And so in a way, you can say, like, wow, with all the needs in the community, is paying for fireworks really a good investment? And to me, yeah, because it's all about building community and changing lives. And building community does change lives. And when we all get together as a neighborhood, when we all get together as a community, when we all get together to celebrate something, that is building community and that is changing lives.
Very true, very true. You guys are big advocates for the community and also the youth as well. You guys want to make sure that they actually have the ability to work in the city, right?
We have looked for a lot of ways actually to enrich the life of young people in this town, because we know that when young people hang around and don't have anything to do, that's not a good situation for anybody. And so we've done a number of things to try to address that. And one of them we were just talking about a few minutes ago. We sponsored an intergenerational trip to Gettysburg, and the Gandhi Youth Brigade went along and filmed it. And so, you know, that was a kind of, it was worked on a number of different levels, right? They got to go see this wonderful historic site. There was this multi-generational aspect of it, and then they got to document it. And we actually have just given a grant for another multimedia festival. And we have done a number of other things just to really, you know, give young people an opportunity to develop life skills as well as work skills. So.
We also work to try and make the community a safe place for young people to live and to exercise and to get out. And so one of the things that we've sponsored is the 5K Safe Routes to School race. And that's all about, you know, it's about getting kids out, getting exercise, being physical. It's also about making sure that when you're a kid walking around this neighborhood, you know, we're in the middle of a huge urban center, but kids should be able to be kids, and they should know that when they're on their way to school or their way home from school, that it's a safe place to be and it's a safe place to walk around. So that's another aspect of that. And that's all sort of integrated, I think, in terms of making this a youth-friendly place. Opportunities for youth, education for youth, and building the sort of community in which youth can thrive. And sports as well.
Sports as well. On top of everything you guys do, what does the future hold for the foundation?
Well, obviously we'd like to continue growing so that we can continue to foster the kind of community here and also the life-changing activities that are going on. We'd like more interaction with the community. We're constantly seeking ways that we can engage people. So we have many, many volunteer opportunities. We've mentioned some of the things we do, the Beer Fest, the Azalea Awards, you know, our participation in the Street Festival. There are all kinds of things that need to happen around that, from speaking to people to let them know that we're out here, to serving food at the Beer Fest, to helping us sell tickets. You know, it's really just a very broad range of things that people can do. So we'd like more engagement with the community. We also would like more feedback. So we really would like people to know that we have grants and to give us information about what kinds of grants they'd like to see us, you know, promoting. I think the other thing is that we continue to work on building our board, so that we'd really like the board to look like the rest of Takoma Park, and to represent all of the different kinds of diversity, you know, whether it's age or where people live or, you know, what they do for a living or their racial background. We want everything represented on our board to the extent possible. So we'd love to have more of that kind of engagement as well. So I think the future holds more of the same, but bigger.
But bigger.
Bigger,
Yeah.
and, you know, and maybe the one thing I'd say would be different would be, you know, really ongoing engagement, so that it's not just that we touch, you know, at these festivals, but that we really feel like we've established a real ongoing communications circuit.
And you guys are also volunteers, right? Now, and you guys don't even have an office, actually. Where do you guys operate out of? This threw me off.
We have a P.O. box. Does that count?
That's right. Well, it's great. I mean, to be honest, of all the neighborhoods of the Washington area where you would not need an office, Takoma Park really is one of those places. First of all, we have this great community center, which we helped fund, and we use that sometimes. We have meetings, gatherings. If we have a work night and we need some table space, we can come here and do work here. If it's a few of us getting together, there's so many great establishments here in town to go and have a cup of coffee or have adult beverage and talk and get work done. And then we can go to each other's houses. You know, we all live in these nice, warm Takoma Park houses,
Yes.
and so it's always fun to get together and have a meeting around somebody's kitchen table or wherever we need to go. And so it is a community that really lends itself to figuring out places to get together and get work done.
And I would just say about the volunteering thing, I mean, we do it because we believe it's good for the community, but it also enriches our lives.
Yeah.
We really like what we're doing. You know, I think both Scott and I would say that, and every member of the board would say that. And I think, you know, the thing about it is that we learn about some of those secrets that the rest of the community doesn't actually know about, the really cool projects that are going on. You know, like the Gandhi Brigade going to film a trip to Gettysburg, or, you know, the Young Activist Club at Piney Branch, which is fighting to have the cafeteria get rid of styrofoam trays. There's just all kinds of cool stuff happening. And we get to be a part of that. And so, again, you know, in terms of other people engaging, it's really a wonderful experience, and we have fun. We have a good time. We throw the best party in Takoma. Okay, we're not insulting any of the festivals, but our Beer Fest is the best party. So.
Yes, we are volunteers, and yes, we do put time into the foundation, but the truth is that the time we put in compared to the time and energy and resources that are put in by the people who we fund, it's minimal. This is a town of people who really, really, really get involved, and whether it's you're involved big by serving on city council or involved by picking up trash in your own neighborhood or being involved in your community association or being involved in your PTA, that's what this neighborhood's all about. And yes, we do put time in, yes, we do put effort in, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to all the other effort that goes around here. And I think we always try and remember that and like to think that we're facilitating all that other activity.
Well, you guys live busy lives, and the foundation seems like it is a big commitment, right? To have to just keep up with everything that is going around the community, people applying for grants. What got you guys started?
Well, I'm a fundraiser in my professional life, and so I'm just really happy to be on the other side of the table. We do fundraise, obviously. That is one of the primary things we do, but we also get to give grants. And so it's just a real pleasure for me to be able to do that. And you know, the other thing is, as I said, that we have a lot of fun together, and it's a wonderful group of people who are very committed. And we have all kinds of really positive ways to interact with the community, which is just incredibly rewarding. So that's really, I think, what keeps us going.
What drew you in.
Yeah.
And for you, Scott?
I've lived in the neighborhood about 12 years now. I have 3 children living here, and it's impossible not to see the fact that that there are many amazing opportunities to our community. But there's also, as housing prices go up, as our community starts to change, there's also the chance that that we'll not maintain our unique character. I think that the Takoma Foundation is an organization that is ideally suited for helping bring together all the different elements that are always coming into Takoma Park and bringing those together and maintaining a shared vision. And it doesn't have to be the same vision. It doesn't have to be that Takoma Park will always be the same neighborhood it's always been. But what's made us strong is our ability to come up with a shared vision that works across the community, that works across different ages, that works across different cultures, and we move in a unified direction. And so I think that that's something that the foundation can help to do, is help as really as Franca was saying, it can help catalyze, it can help people collaborate, it can help people get together and share that vision and move that vision forward together, because that's what makes us strong, and that's really what makes us unique.
And I would just add that we are a community foundation. We're not like the Ford Foundation. You know, we don't sit in a fancy office with a big endowment. It's all coming from the community and going back to the community. And the community really owns us, and we want people to think of it that way. We are your resource.
How can people get in contact with you?
We're always open, we're always there, and there's always a way to find us. Our email is info@takomafoundation.org. We are on Facebook. We're easy to find, facebook.com/Takoma Foundation. Or you can just drop us an old-fashioned letter to P.O. Box 5704, Takoma Park, Maryland, 20913-5704.
Franca and Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity
Thank
to be here.
you very much for having us. It's
All
great,
right.
and again, Takoma TV, it's a perfect example of one of the things that makes Takoma a great town. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. And like they said, you can contact them at the takomafoundation.org. Drop them a line at their P.O. box, and you could also email them. Thanks for watching today at We Are Takoma. Have a great day.